All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to Beginner Active Directory training from Alienworks. Today, we're just going to go over some external pen testing with Active Directory, what Active Directory is, some of the tools we use, and how you can work them to get into a network. This is a very high level. Trust me, we're just skimming the surface, and it's just to get you kind of started on your Active Directory journey, right? Get you able to do some of the hack the box Windows challenges. All right, so let's go over this. So what is Active Directory? Active Directory is a directory service created by Microsoft that functions as a centralized database for managing and organizing resources in a network environment. It provides a means to manage and control access to network resources, including users, computers, servers, printers, and other network devices.
Y parece que
Active
Luis está
Directory
mejor, para
simplifies
este final
network
del segundo asalto, que
administration
se ha
by
igualado
providing a
todo mucho.
centralized
Sí, ahí está
managed
mejor un
platform
poquitín.
for
Pero no es
user
capaz de acercarse, ¿no? Le
authentication,
está manteniendo.
resource access control, and policy enforcement. It enhances security, improves scalability, and streamlines the management of network resources and organizations of all sizes. So basically, Active Directory controls the whole network, okay? Key components. I'm not going to go through all of these, but the key components for Active Directory is the domain, which is basically your .com, your .local, .whatever. Your domain controller, which is the DC. A domain controller is a server that runs the Active Directory service and maintains a copy of the Active Directory database. So the Active Directory database contains everything, right? All your users, group policies, machines, everything, printers, all that. Forests. Forests are multiple domains in the same network or same organization. And this is used as a security measure to isolate certain networks or certain pieces of the network. Organizational units are all your containers within a domain, right? So think of these as folders that keep all your users, your groups, your machines, computers, everything, keeps them all separate. Those are organizational units. Users and groups is pretty self-explanatory. The one thing with Active Directory, groups are a big thing, and we'll get more into that probably in the next course or so. But groups is big on there, especially with group policies in Active Directory. Group policies allows Active Directory like system administrators to control large groups without having to touch every single thing. They can set a policy and control a whole list of computers, people, everything. Trust relationships are for forests, and they establish a level of trust between the two forests, or multiple forests, I should say, and see who can communicate back and forth with each other. Replication. AD employs replication to ensure that changes made to the directory database on one domain controller are synchronized with the other domain controllers within the same domain or across different domains. So short and sweet, that is just so everybody's on the same page and you don't have to rebuild the same thing over and over and over, okay? It's also where our DC sync comes in. So this is a basic layout of domains, forest, and trust and how it works. Again, this is high level. This is not going into detail. There's way more to it than just this. But this will give you a brief overview. So if you have forest 1 here, this is your main domain. You got your domain controller. It's in charge of this forest. You have a workstation 1, workstation 2. And you notice on hive.com, right? It's on the 50/24 network. You can also have a forest 2 in the internal.hive.com, okay, where you have a domain controller, maybe you have your SQL server, your web server, whatever it may be. And the way the communication works is if the two forests have a bidirectional trust, it means that workstation 1 can access services on forest 2, right? Because it's bidirectional. A one-way inbound is or not the exact opposite, or it's different, I should say, where if it's one-way inbound, that means this forest is trusting this forest to access its services, and then one-way outbound is vice versa, right? So these guys would have access to this forest, but this forest wouldn't have access to this forest, okay? There's a ton more that goes into that, but we're not going to dive into forest and trust today. I just wanted to show you the domain, the breakdown. Each domain has like their own name server where they have the hive.com, Forest 1, they're on their own network. They're going to have a totally different network on a different subdomain, and it goes from there. Okay. All right. The attack methodology. We have external recon and compromised machine. We're kind of going to skip that for right now. And we're going to do the internal recon. And today we're basically doing from the outside, basically an external recon, I should say. But it runs in cycles. For every Windows machine you get onto in a network, the cycle is always going to be the same. You're going to have local privileges on one machine. You're going to look to escalate that privilege to local admin. You're going to look to compromise the credentials on that machine. You're going to come up here. You're going to look for admin recon. Look wherever else you can laterally move as an admin. You're going to look for remote code execution on another machine that you can laterally move to. And then once you have moved, you're going to look for, or you're also going to look for domain admin creds. And then we're going to move through and go through. Once we get domain admin creds on one domain, we win, right? We have total control over that domain. And that's why they're so important to keep track of and take care of those and hide those as best as possible. But once we get domain admin creds, then we can move into domain dominance, which is coming in here and setting up persistence and getting more information, exfiltration, putting backdoors in, and so forth. All right. So, and again, very high level, sorry. And I think that's all I got for the PowerPoints. So thank goodness those are over. All right, so let's have some fun now. All right, so we're going to do testing from the Linux box into our Active Directory. I will show you, I have the area, let me make sure I can see this. Hold up. Okay. So right now we have Area 51 DC, we have Alien Workstation 1 and Alien Workstation 2. Okay, and they're all running right now. We're going to assume that all we got for this pen test was an IP address. So if we go to the DC, let's say we didn't even get the DC, say we got this one. So we can do an fping, ping, and yes, some of the commands are here because I've already been testing. So we got a 10.10.5 and whatever network. So we're going to do an fping on the whole network and see what we get from it, right? This is one of my first things, even before I Nmap, because honestly, I'm not Nmapping a whole /24 network. And we'll go in here. I was having issues with it. It's not grabbing my Alien Workstation 2, and I don't know why. Another tool that we'll go more into a little bit is Nmap Exec. And I just want to show something real quick. Nope, not that. All right, there we go. Switch this to SMB. So we can also use Nmap Exec to do an initial scan of the network and get a list of computer names, who's on the network, what computers are accessed by the network, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see, I have 3 computers here, Workstation 1, 2, and the DC, right? So going off that, we know that we are just looking for, those 3 machines. So now we can start our Nmap scan. And I am doing this as I on purposely set up the my network as a very horrible systems administrator. And I did that so you can see what kind of things, when a bad sysadmin is in charge of the network, what kind of things are visible. And chances are a lot of the boxes you're going to do on Hack the Box or Try Hack Me and stuff are not going to show as much information as I have here, because obviously they're singling things out that they want you to find. But you can find off of other works and stuff, people that have, that do this on the day-to-day, that stuff will show up in weird spots that will give you information. Yeah, there's gonna be some verbosity on here. Okay. It's being very touchy today. I don't know what's going on. There we go. All right, let's give it a second, and it should finish. Maybe? Are we doing it? Come on. I did give it a scripts. I probably should have taken that out. 98. We're almost there. We're almost there. Promise is the only big scan we're going to run. Come on, anytime today, Nmap. All right. I don't know. Is it done? Like, come on. Kind of being impatient now. Come on. There we go. Okay. Jeez. It's a local network. What's going on? So you can see we pulled out a bunch of information running scripts and stuff, and I probably shouldn't have done that. Anyways, so let me, okay. I wanted to do it reverse. Sorry guys. Let me do one more scan, but it's gonna be a slow scan or a fast scan, sorry. What's going on with my keyboard today, dude? Hold on. All right, that wasn't what I wanted. What's that? Okay, we're gonna do it on a different screen then. All right, so I'm gonna take all this stuff out. I'm just gonna leave the open and the PNs and just scan these because I want to show you. I want you guys to get a good visualization of the difference between a Windows box and an actual DC T4. Yeah. So there it goes. Okay. So when you're scanning, especially a network, uh, one thing that's going to point out your domain controller is going to be all these ports right here. 53 is your DNS server, 88 your Kerberos or your KDC, sorry, Kerberos Key Distribution Center. 139 and 445 is going to be your SMB, and then we just have a whole bunch of ports. We have LDAP on here, and then we have 3389, which is RDP, some other ones too. And then we can tell that the other computers are simply workstations, one obviously by the name, but they don't have nearly as many ports, and they're missing the key DC ports, which is 53, 88, and then LDAP 636 and 389. So those are the big ones. And obviously it's very apparent which is bigger, which has more open and which doesn't. When you get into workstations, you're going to notice a lot less ports open. If you see these ports open, you should be excited. You have a little bit of access there. Some ports just come back with an 80 and a 22, 10, or an 80, whatever it may be. So this gives us a little bit of access, but it tells us also what we're looking for. We're getting basically the FQDN of the FQDN of our DC is the Area 51 TAC DC hive.local. We're also getting the FQDNs of the workstations, okay, which come in handy with a lot of tools for Active Directory, because a lot of Active Directory stuff doesn't work off of IP addresses, or it doesn't like IP addresses. Let me rephrase that. And you're going to need the domain names or sometimes the FQDN to run some of your tools. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay. So with that being said, we can go back over to the big scan, and we pulled out a whole bunch of information. Okay. And let's scroll up to the top. There we go. Okay. So if we look through here, we can see that we're pulling down. This is for the DC. It's given us a whole bunch of names. It's given us a common name of Hive, TAC Area 51, TAC DC, TAC CA. This is our certificate authority. It's showing us the DNS, the name server, Area 51, DC Hive.local. I wish it would stop doing that. I don't know why it's jumping. My Tmux is being very, very picky today. All right. It's printing out a lot of certificates. We're not going to go into that right now. It's a little bit more in depth, but we can see that it's just giving us information, right? We know that we have to, when you're doing like Hack the Box or something, you're going to have to resolve these with your Etsy host. Make sure that you have those in there. Otherwise, it's not going to resolve, and some of your tools are not going to work right, because it will. When your tools they're not going to look for an IP address. They're actually going to look for the name. So that has to be in your Etsy host, so the DNS will resolve, right? So we come down, we're pretty much getting the same information off of everything. If you had a good systems administrator, none of these certificates and stuff would be here, or very limited. Okay. This is not common to see. I just am not a good sysadmin, nor do I claim to be. Let me see if there's anything else on important. Now there is one spot that does point out, oh, here it is. So if you can see, it says the FQDN right here. Okay, so the FQDN, maybe we'll do this? No? Okay. FQDN Area 51 DC gives us a forest name, hive.local, gives us a domain name, hive.local. You can tell these are the same. If we had another domain, say we had internal.hive.local, right, that would be put it in a different forest, so we might have more pop up here. Gives us just some basic information. Nothing too crazy, right? Nothing really giving us a way in yet. We still don't have any credentials. There's really nothing we can brute force to get in on here. Let me see, make sure. Yeah, so we're good on that. So I can clear that out now. Okay, now it's working right. So the biggest thing is with Active Directory, right, is having user credentials. There's a couple instances where you can get away with not having user credentials with maybe a zero logon or an LDAP domain dump if they approve. I forgot the word now. I just went blank. Sorry. If they approve no sign on something. There's a setting, and I completely just blanked out on it. That if it's set, you can do an LDAP domain dump and dump their creds without having any kind of user creds. Typically, though, in most Active Directory, you're not going to be able to do that. So we're not going to go over that right now. So the first tool I am going to go over, which is one of my favorites, is CrackMap Exec. And for most of the part, we're going to be doing SMB, okay? And for almost all of it, we are going to use the DC. Okay, so the DC is on 130, okay? And we're just going to run it because we don't have any usernames or passwords. We're just going to run it just like this. And it doesn't give us anything, right? So if we run, even if we run attack U with no one, attack P, anonymous login, that is what I'm looking for. Anonymous. It has anonymous login, an LDAP domain dump will let you sometimes enumerate users and credentials. So this is the way we would do an anonymous login. Obviously, we're getting a logon failure, which means it's password required. Okay. It's not going to let us do anything as far as that is concerned. Let me just double check to make sure I'm not lying to everybody. Right. So it's still going to it gives us that we have an actual, we're good. We get a plus sign that Area 51 DC is there, but enumerating domain users is not going to happen without NTLM or domain username and password, right? So what do we do, right? Well, we have a handy little tool called Kerberoast that we can use for name enumeration, right? And if you go to Kerberoast's help panel, they have a couple options for you, right? We have brute force, brute user, help, password spray, and user enum, right? Which we can use with a user enum name list, right? So just if you made a name list off of OSINT, gathering possible names off their website, LinkedIn, wherever you grab names. If you grab a name list, shoot, if you don't have a name list, we can throw names at it and see what happens, right? We can throw like sec list at it and see what it does. So let's do Kerberoast. And then we're going to put the user enum. User enum. We do want to put the domain, which we have from our first scans. We do want to put the DC, tech DC, which we know from our Nmap scan that Area 51 tech DC .hive .local is our domain controller. Good Lord. And let's go to our word list and just look for sec list. We'll use usernames. We can use this one. It doesn't matter. As you guys can probably tell, I probably ran this a few times, but we have names coming up now, and we have a few valid usernames that goes over this. And one thing about this that I have to state up that what's it called? This does not go against their lockout policy, right? This is only sending a request to the domain controller and coming back. So you don't have to worry about lockout policies. This is not brute forcing anybody's logins, right? So if they have a login attempt block set at, say, like three bad attempts and then they're locked out of the system, if you're doing a real pen test, you'd really have to be concerned about that. With this is just asking to see if this user is here or not, right? So it's not going to get anybody locked out. Yes, it's noisy on the wire, obviously, but it's not going to hurt their system or anything. Go back over here. I just lost where I was. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and kill this real quick. So we did get some users. We got Maximus at Hive, Administrator. Administrator is usually always going to pop, especially with Active Directory and a few like guest and stuff like that. We got Maximus, we got Zeus, we got T Robinson. Okay. So with that, we can do a little bit of password cracking and see. Now this is where the domain lockout policy would come into play. And if you had one in place on a real network, you would definitely not want to just brute force passwords, okay? Because this will get them locked out. So if we go here, we go, what was it, Maximus, tac, nope. Yeah, we're gonna do tac P. And instead, because we don't have a password, right, we're gonna use a built-in password, right? Or built-in password list, sorry. Share word list. We're just gonna run RockU on it and see if anything hits real quick. Let me not do this one. This is gonna be ridiculous. Actually, we're gonna use Kerberoot to do it. So I remember having issues with Kerberoot or CrackMap earlier. Nope. That's not what I wanted to erase. User enum. Okay. I think it was brute user. Let me see. Let's delete all that. And do attack H. Yep, and that was brute user, Kerberoot. And we are going to brute user. If I can learn how to do things right. And then we have dhive local, right, for our domain. We have down here at the bottom, we have dhive local. We have the domain controller. These are going to be consistent with Kerberoot, okay, with their syntax. And then we have our username wordless rocku.txt and then Maximus, okay? And we're just going to run that. It's only going to take a second or two. It should only take a minute or two. So I don't know what it was earlier, but CrackMap exec was not hitting on the password. And if you guys saw it earlier, it is an easy password to crack. It should not take RockU that long to do, to break that password. But we are going to let it run for a minute and see what happens. Let's see. Yeah. I don't think you can verbose on Kerberoot. Do you? No. Okay. So there's multiple ways to do this. You have CrackMap exec. We have Kerberoot. I'm pretty sure there is. I don't use it very often, but if we look at Impacket, I want to say there's one in here, and I cannot remember the name of it. I don't think it's most of these you need. Most of the Impacket tools you need. What's it called? You need username and password for Impacket tools. Most of them, not all, most of them. Okay, so it looks like we got a hit. Take a look back at that. Okay, so Kerberoot got us the password. It broke the password with a rocku.txt file, and it gave us a Maximus at hive.local password 123. Right. So we're good to go now. So let's clear this out. And now I'm gonna run it through CrackMap, right? Because I want to know what this guy can access. I want to know what we can do. I want to start enumerating the domain. How we can do this all with his password, with his credentials. And we're going to stay on SMB, and we're going to stay on the domain controller for now. Okay. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I just want this. So this plus sign right here tells us that we have an active domain user with an active password, and this is good. Okay, doesn't mean we can log on to the DC. Doesn't mean we have access to the DC. It's just we are in the domain. When you see that we're currently active on, like we have access to a machine or we own a machine, you will see a pwned right here in bright orange that will let you know. Okay. So a couple things we can do with CrackMap exec, and there's on their Wikipedia site, you can basically go down the list of enumeration and SMB protocol, and you can find everything, every command that you want. And one of the big ones for us is going to be TAC users, because we want to know all the users in the domain, right? So these are all of our users right here, this big middle list. So we have local SQL service, Maximus, Zeus, Martois, Mediles, Trablin, Robinson, all blah, 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 right? Another thing to point out, this DESC stands for description. If you notice off to here, there are passwords in the description. Okay. There's hints in the descriptions too. All right. The reason I point that out is because I don't know how common it is in the real world. However, you can see in the DC why it would be so easy for a sysadmin, a lazy sysadmin, a bad sysadmin like myself. Did my thing break? What happened? Uh-oh, technical difficulties. Hold on. Let's see. There we go. Oh, what's going on? There we go. Good Lord. So we're logging into the DC. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Nope. Wrong button. There we go. So when sysadmins are creating users, okay, and this is why I highly recommend you guys build your own labs. If you're into Active Directory and you want to learn, build your own labs so you can see why stuff is happening and what they're doing. So when people go in and add a new user, so if we look back at Area 51, if we look here, this was for Maximus, and you can see his password is right in descriptions, okay? If we go back to the DC, when I look at Maximus and I look at his account, or right here, I'm sorry, general. Now, if you're a lazy sysadmin, this description, you might not think that it shows up anywhere but sides right here in Maximus's own little world, okay? So you can put like, oh yeah, Maximus is only going to be with us for 3 weeks. Let me put his password in here, okay? Click OK. So this is actually seen by a lot of different places. Everything in his account is seen by a lot of different places. I'm just showing you why that could happen or how that happens, okay? Same thing with SQL, I believe. SQL has a little hint in there for the password, okay? And it shows up right here as well, okay? So I just wanted to point that out. Another thing we can do is we want to look for groups. So this gives us all the groups in the domain, okay? It also gives us a member count, so we know how many members are in each group. And the main one that we look for usually, the main one we want, I shouldn't say look for, but want, is that guy right here. So we have 3 domain admins, apparently. I don't remember setting up 3 domain admins, but we'll go with it. We have 4 administrators. We got 3 users, 2 guests. And we have RDP. We have 4 users on RDP. Okay. So we're just gathering information, right? We just want to know what we can touch, what we can do. We're not doing really any damage right now. The only thing crazy we've done so far is brute forcing that password. So we can check shares. I'm gonna say shares with an S. Yes. So this shows us that we have one thing that we can read and write to. We can read the net logon. We can read the sysvol. There's a good exploit with sysvol. If you can read the sysvol, it's worth checking out because sometimes you can find credentials in their XML files in the sysvol. Not common, but it is there. And I think it's leftover passwords. I'd have to double check that one. Okay, so we have a couple options when we see shares. We can use SMB client to grab that, or we can use Spider in CrackMap. Yes, Spider. So if we look here, we can do tac m, and we can do spider _plus, I believe. And this will do an output to our temp CME spider plus right here. So if we want to, we can take a look at that and we can cd into temp spider plus. And we can see that we have a JSON file right here. So we can cat that out. And so if we start from the top, it's just showing everything that's readable, all the files that are readable in there, all the folders that are readable, I'm sorry. And we notice we have the super secret, and there's a super secret doc.txt. So again, we could log into SMB client and we could grab it with SMB client. Let me see, close this down. So we could come in here, we could go to not EMS, SMB client. And we could go to, I think it's just top secret. It's going to ask for Maximus's password, which we have. And we are in. And now we can see, okay, there's an alien folder, super alien folder, then a super secret.txt, right? We can always, we can get that super secret.txt with get. And once we have that, we should have that right here. Okay, so that's one way we can get it. Doesn't have anything crazy on it. It's just Maximus's password. Okay, so that's one way we can do it. Now we can also, if we're using CrackMap exec, we can use the Spider Plus module too with it, and we can do a TAC O, and it is read _ only equals false. Okay, so this is not only going to give us the readout like we had before, this is actually going to grab everything. So now if we go back and we go to cd temp spider plus, now we should have this actual directory right here. So now we can cd into it. And now we have two folders. We have the sysvol folder, we have the top secret. So these are actually on my machine now. And I can just use them like they're any kind of file on my machine. Okay. Comes in handy when we have when there's a whole bunch of shares and trying to get it through SMB client can be kind of time consuming, or it keeps timing out. We can use, I like to use CrackMap exec. Plus I'm already there and we can just grab it, right? Okay. So let me go back to my list. So we have CrackMap exec. Let me see. I'm just going through my stuff real quick. If we have a cool thing about CrackMap exec is if we have, once you get domain admin credentials, you can use attack X and you can actually issue commands through it like who am I and get a response back. And that's actually, we can go into a little bit more with that later or next class with executing commands and getting reverse shells with that. Next thing I want to go over is this is pretty much CrackMap exec. I'm not going to go through all of CrackMap exec, okay? But I will show you some comparisons. So another thing we're looking for once we get credentials, okay, is now we can start using in-packet tools to really get some information from the box, from the network. So if you do an in-packet, TAC, and then do a tab, it should give you a list like this if you have it installed correctly. I think all the new Kalis come with it installed pretty good. So one of the big ones we want to get is NP users, get in-packet, get NP users right here, and then get user SPNs, okay? And this one right here, so get in-packet, get NP users is our Kerberoasting type, I believe. If I'm not saying that wrong, I might be completely lying about that. But, oh, hello. There we go. So, yeah, this is AS rep roasting. I'm sorry. Get NP users is AS rep roasting. So what happens in AS rep roasting? AS rep roasting is where in our what's it called? In our user profile, when they're setting up the account, if they choose to select this, do not require Kerberos pre-authentication to sign in, right? This is going to allow us to basically grab their whole TGT ticket, their whole key from the KDC, which includes a hash, which includes their username and password. Okay. So if they have this selected, I couldn't tell you for the life of me why this would be selected. There's got to be a reason, but I don't know what it is. So, but if this is selected, you'll see what's going to happen here in a second. We can grab user credentials from it. So we're just saying, hey, we want we want to know if this person is on the machine. We want to, submit, we want to log in with this person. The KDC is going to return this output right here, which is in our ASRep text. Okay. So if we cat out the ASRep text, and if I'm explaining this wrong, I'm sorry, guys, I am trying. So right here, we have this huge, it gave us a ticket, right? It gave us a hash. Not a ticket, a hash, right? So with this hash, if you don't know what this hash does or is or how to break it, we can come up here, we can copy it, and we can go over to Hashcats Wiki. Don't want that. There we go. We can go to Hashcats Wiki, and there's a lot of them here. So instead of looking through all of them, we just copy and paste the first part of that hash up into the username, and you'll see it gives us a KRB5 ASRep and gives us basically exactly what we're looking at. So now we know with Hashcat, we need to use the 18,200 module. It's for Kerberos 5, it's for ASRep. Okay, so we know that we're on the right path. So now we can Hashcat that out. We're going to do a TAC-M for that module number that we just saw. An A is 0, 100%, can't remember what that means. The ASRep text, okay, this is the file we just put this hash into, and we're going to break it with RockU. Okay. All right, so this shouldn't, okay, there you go. So you saw it was an easy password, okay, cracked it. So now, if you notice though, I don't know if I pointed it out, this was not for Maximus. This is for a whole different user. This is for T. Robinson, okay? So now we have another user's creds. Where did it go? We have another user's creds that we can use with a password, okay? So if you go back to the slideshow with the cycles, right? Now we have new users. We're going to want to run through those users, check their passwords, check, what kind of stuff what different information we can pull with each user, okay? Not just one, we got one user creds, we're good, we can get in. No. With Windows, with Active Directory, you definitely want to check their permissions, see what they can and can't access, see if they can move laterally, see if they can escalate privilege, everything. So we want to double check everything. It's a big circle. Just remember the big circle. Everything is in circles. Okay. Now we have two users. We're going to stick with the Maximus user. Okay. I just wanted to show you that get NP users. So before my screw up, this is ASRep roasting, right? And this is for the authentication. Now, if we go back and we do SPNs, get user SPNs, what is it? Oh, where did it go? I'm looking right at it. There it is. Get user SPNs. Okay. We're going to still use the same Maximus password 123. We're going to do the output of Kerb. So this one right here is going to check for users that have SPNs attached to them, which are service principal names. Why does a person have a service principal name? How do they get one? These are for different services on the machine that they have access to, that they can log into with their credentials, right? So we can actually, later on down the road, when we get into lateral movement and pivoting and all that kind of good stuff, we can actually come in here and forge this person's information and use his credentials and jump to a different machine without having his password or anything else. Okay, we can forge a hash for him, basically, a ticket, and jump. Okay. So we definitely want to enumerate that. We want to look, we get that. We go to let's do cat out curb.text. And you see we have another hash or hash, I'd say. So we're going to grab this, we're going to copy it, and we're going to go over to Hashcat again. I believe it's different. Yes, this is a TGS, sorry. And we can see the TGS is a 13,100, right? So we're going to run through this through Hashcat as well. Clear this out. Hashcat. And 13,100. And I think it was curve.text. Text. So we're going to break that and see if we can get into, see if we can break his password. All honesty, I didn't even try this earlier, so I have no idea. And it doesn't look like we're getting it with RockU. I'm not going to sit here and make you guys sit through that, but that's how you would do it. Okay. Which is surprising. RockU should be able to crack that, so I'm not too understanding why that's not working, but we can use that, get those credentials. We can also, like I said, we'll get more into those in a later course with actually forging the tickets for them. All right, let me clear this out. All right, so when we have, so we have username and password, we have credentials, right? If we remember from our Nmap scan over here, we see that we have Alien Workstation 1 and Alien Workstation 2 both have RDP open on them, right? 3389 is your RDP. Now, if we go to CrackMap and we change this to RDP and we use Maximus and we're going to use IP address of Alien Workstation, Maximus password 123, right? And we're going to try to see if we have access on RDP. Earlier, this said no. So we're just going to check it out for a second. Sometimes it's going to get stuck. Okay. So it tells me no, I don't have access to Maximus or Alien Workstation 1 with Maximus. However, if we X-free RDP into 131 with Maximus's credentials, see if it works. And it's firing up, which is a good sign. Okay, I don't know who's on there. Oh, the administrator's on there. Get out of here, administrator. You don't need us. Oh, it's fighting me hard today. There you go. Okay. All right, he's already logged out. Okay. So now we're in the box. We are in 131. We have access. We are, let's see who we are. We are Maximus. And we're on Alien Workstation 1. Okay. So we do have access. CrackMap exec is lying to us, telling us we don't. 100% don't know why that does. Okay. But I am a horrible sysadmin, so I probably didn't set something up correctly, to be honest. All right, so we do have RDP in there. We're not going to go into that today, right now. So I think one of the main things that I want to show too before it gets too late is BloodHound, right? So we want to see a graphical representation topology of the network. We want to see, it just enumerates a lot of stuff for us. And so the easiest way to get that for us, being on the outside, is with BloodHound tag Python. Let me see if it just pop up for me. Tag, there we go. So let me just erase all this. This is for something else. So we're gonna do BloodHound Python. We're gonna do Maximus for our username. Obviously, password 123 is our password. We have dhive local, which is tac d is for domain. We want to, so this taxi and all, this is going to be common around all your Bloodhound, all your collectors. For all of Bloodhound is a taxi all. Taxi all queries the whole domain for everything: groups, group ID, or GPOs, computers, everything. Right? There are multiple things you can just query. You can just query the domain controller. You can query just one user. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. For our purposes, we're going to grab it. We're going to grab all of it, right? We want everything. This is the wrong IP, so we're going to do the DC IP. which was 10.10.5.131. And then we're going to do a DNS TCP on there so it connects to, or it resolves through the DNS, right? And we're going to run that. It's going to take a second. And it's not going to run. Answer timed out. Okay. Let's remove the DNS TCP. See if it works. Oh, it's a sudo. I don't know why it's not working. Nope. Bloodhound Python is not working. Why is Bloodhound Python? DNS operations timed out. Let me see. Oh, okay. That's odd. Oh, because I didn't put the DC IP. There we go. That would probably help if you use the wrong IP address. So what's this going to do? Is like I said, it's going to grab all the information for the whole domain. As you can see right there, it found one domain, 3 computers, 13 users, groups, blah, 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 blah. We should have a mess right here now. We should have all these JSON files that we're going to import into Bloodhound, okay? So the easiest way to do that is we're going to start up our Neo4j server first. Neo4j start. Let me put a sudo on that first. Sudo Neo4j start. All right. And you can see it's available at localhost 747. If you have not used Neo4j before, it's super easy to install. It's just sudo apt install Neo4j. And you will want to come to this website first. And there will be, once this fires up, it takes a second. Instead of having this connection status down here, you won't have that. You'll have a login, change username and password first. You have to go through and set that up. And then you'll be able to log in or set up Bloodhound to use it as well, right? So we don't need this open though. We can just close that out. It's there. Now we can run Bloodhound. Ooh, just by itself. And this is going to start up the Bloodhound service. If you put in your password and you click save, it will save it for you so you don't have to keep logging in or remember that Neo4j password all the time. Let me clear the database. Get a fresh database in here. Refresh. All right, make sure it's zeroed out. There's nothing in here. So to get all that information into Bloodhound, what we need to do is come over here to upload data. Now, there's multiple ways to run collectors, which is the Bloodhound Python, which we ran is called a collector. If you're on a Windows box, you can use SharpHound. I think there's a couple other ones too that you can use. Some of them will put that into a zip file. So you can upload the straight zip file. Okay, it'll take the zip, unzip it for you, and it'll grab all these JSON files out of it. If not, if you have just like these, we can just grab all of these and we can open those. Now, one thing too to here note, see how these are all at 100%, okay? If you get a NaN or null or whatever like that in here when you just ran it, that means you're running the wrong collector, okay? Update your collector and rerun it. Okay, that's all that means. Delete that stuff out and then rerun your collector. Okay, so note that we don't have anything on screen. We don't know what's what. We do know though we have a user Maximus, right? Well, we have all the users, but we own Maximus because we have his password, right? Maximus. So you can see he populates right there. We hit enter and we can go into Bloodhound and we can double click him. And now we can see different things that he has on him. We can actually see that description where he's got super secret password 123. It comes up in Bloodhound. Okay. It shows us if he's ASREP roastable, which he's not. Can he be delegated? Does his password expire? Is he compromised? When we check here and we can mark the user as owned. We get a little skull on there. If we reran Bloodhound, it would probably come up compromised true. Okay. It's not giving us an admin account. We're going to keep scrolling down. It gives us the distinguished names, gives us the domain he's in. It gives us his domain SID, or gives us the domain SID. Sorry. What else is there? Shows us which groups he's in. So if we spread this out, now we can see which group he's in. He's in the remote desktop users, and he's in the domain users. Okay. Let's see where else we go. First degree RDP privileges. Yes, he's on there. And the one we have, the major one that I look out for too, when I'm especially low end users, is going to be the outbound object control. So our user right here doesn't have any outbound object controls because he doesn't have any. But if they do, and we click on them here, it'll look similar to, say, one of these, where you'll have a whole bunch of things going from him out. This is all, if you look at the arrows, these are all pointing in. So these are inbound controls. So all these groups right here have control over Maximus user. So any of these groups right here have full or not full control, but generic all owns. So they all have permissions. He doesn't have anything. Now, what was the other one we had? We had a T Robinson, right? So let's look for him real quick. And there he goes. So we have him, and we also have his password. Let's go ahead and mark him owned. Okay, we're going to double click on him to pull up his information. And now we're going to run through here. Now he should, so here, because we got his credentials through ASRep roasting, it says true right here. Okay, so you can always look for different users now. If we do, what is it, Hive? We can pull up the Area 51 DC. Let me see. I'm trying to show. So these are inbound controls. Nope, outbound. Oh, I'm looking for one thing. Give me 1 second. I should be able to pull up just the domain. Okay, there we go. So now we have hive.local. We can click directly on the domain. And maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. I think I'm in the wrong spot. Just trying to find, there's a spot where it shows you all the users, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Could be on the DC. Thought it was on the domain. Down here. Inbound transitives. No, it's only gonna be groups. Okay. Either way, we can run through and manually go through the users. There is a spot on here. I'm just drawing a huge blank where you can list all the users out and see all the domain users. And you can go through them one by one. And once you know what you're looking for in this panel, then you can start to look at how you can move, if you can elevate privileges, whatever. Okay. So I don't want to go too deep into this. It's just annoying me now that I can't find it. Reach high valuable targets from the DC is obviously going to show us everything because we're on the DC. If we go back to Maximus and we go into analysis and we can look for shortest path to unconstrained delegations, but the one we're going to look for is shortest path to domain admins. And it's not going to give us anything, right? So we don't have a path to domain admins yet. Okay. But this is one analysis. We'll do automatic analysis of this person for you. So you can do like find all domain admins. So we have SQL service. Why is he a domain admin? That's crazy. Zeus is a domain admin and administrator's domain admin. We can map the domain trust. There's no other trust. There's no other forest, so we can't do a trust. Principles with DC sync rights. So DC sync rights will give you it's an attack to dump the whole database, all their hashes, and we'll get more into that next class. Administrator, Zeus. These are all your domain admins. They have DC sync rights. And there's just a plethora of information to go through in BloodHound, right? So this is insanely valuable tool when you're first starting out. Once you get those first initial creds for the system or for the network, I'm sorry, you want to, fire up BloodHound, get that running, visualize the network, see where you have different attack paths. Go through all this stuff. Don't be scared to click on everything. click on, you're not going to break anything. If anything happens, you can simply clear the database out. We can simply wipe the database. And if you mess stuff up really bad, I don't know how you would, but you can just simply do that and bring it right back in. Okay, so don't be scared of BloodHound. It's super easy to use. Takes a little time to get used to how everything's connected. Let me show you another thing too. One last thing on BloodHound and I'm done. Node info. Let's see if we pull up. Let's say Zeus. Because Zeus has DC sync rights, I believe. And if you'll notice, okay, so this is good. He's got the outbound object control. He's got a first degree, right? So we're going to click on that, and it brings up this map. Now it's showing us Zeus has DC sync rights over the domain, okay? So what we can do, if you notice this lights up green when I hover over it, if we right-click this and we click help, okay, it tells us about what this link is and how they're connected. And it tells us the information that the user Zeus has the DS replication get changes and DS replication get changes all privileges on domain level, on domain hive.local. Lord. These two privileges allow a principal to perform a DC sync attack. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy. Alienworks, how do I do a DC sync attack? BloodHound's got you covered. Boom. This is how you can do a DC sync attack. Okay, it gives you a simple Mimikatz command to run a DC sync as that user. Okay, and we're not covering that today. Later, but yes, any kind of abuse that goes on between one user and another user machine, anything like that, if BloodHound has information on it, it will give you the commands to, like, if you have to add a new user and then impersonate that user and then jump, it will give you those commands. Okay. All right. I think that's good for today. Like I said, this is a very high level explanation of Active Directory. Is only meant to get you familiar with it, get you started on the process, maybe build your own lab and start playing with a few of these things and get going on it. And the thing is with it, it's just practice. Do HTTP boxes, do hack the box and try hack me boxes with Windows. Start using these tools, get used to them. Impacket's huge. CrackMap exec, BloodHound, get used to those basic tools and you'll get it. It's just going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing these classes for people as we go, get a little bit more advanced, get into some cooler privilege escalations and lateral movements, stuff like that. And we'll keep going from there. So I hope you guys liked it. And I guess I'll see you guys on the next one, maybe another, couple weeks or so. And we'll go from there. This is Alienworks, and this was Beginner's Active Directory. Have a good day.